And welcome back to another episode of Craig Plays Games. It is your host, Craig, and we are here to continue, possibly conclude, our playthrough of the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy. Just the first game, though, as this is our 25th video in our series, the 8th part of our 5th episode, Rise from the Ashes. Before we dive into the crazy story that's been unfolding here, let's go ahead and get our plugs out of the way. You are checking us out here on YouTube at Craig Plays Games. You can go ahead and like our videos if you've been enjoying what we're doing. Maybe you haven't never seen our videos, just go ahead and like us anyways. You know, I'm sure you're going to, by the end of this, enjoy what we're doing. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button up at the top to join our family. And hit that notify bell so you're made aware of when we go live with a new video. On average, we go live with a new video once every single day between our exclusive YouTube playthrough series as well as our Twitch live streams. Over on Twitch, you can find us at Craig Plays Games. We do about 4 streams over there a week, playing a multitude of online or multiplayer type games. Go ahead and hit the follow button over there. If you do, you'll get notified when we go live with a new stream. Then you can come in and chat with us, hang out with us, experience the game together. That's what it's designed for. That's what we're here for, is to really build this family and this community up. So go ahead, hit that follow button, hang out with us in the chat room, and we'll have a grand time. You can also find us over on Twitter at Craig Plays Games, where we do updates to our schedule as well as general commentary. If you follow us over there, tweet at us, we definitely will respond back to you. That being said, let's dive back on into episode 5, Rise from the Ashes. This has been a crazy story so far, as we have been the defense attorney for Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye. It's been twists and turns as she's being accused of murdering a fellow detective, or a detective on the force. She used to be a detective, we came to find out. And this is all tied back into a case from 2 years earlier, otherwise known as the SL9 incident, which saw a serial killer attempt to kill Lana's sister Emma, and ended up, killing somebody else instead, killing the brother of another detective. Twist after twist after twist, it appears that the chief of police himself, Damon Gant, is behind this or involved in some way, and we are about to dive into another piece of the trial to figure out just exactly what this crazy story is all about. So let's go ahead and do this. We are back at the district court. This is the defendant lobby, alright, but there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach her all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma for that matter? Almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. And there's Edgeworth. Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the ID number is, that is. That would be Gant. I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. The only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True, not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, right? And Chief Prosecutor Skye will be found guilty. But she didn't do it. I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. I mean, we did get him off of murder, in our previous episode. But that's neither here nor there, right? Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court. Alright. This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. That's for sure. Alright, back in the courtroom. Alright, the offense is ready, prosecution is ready, court is back in session. Normally this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. What is Gant doing now? Morning folks, how everyone doing? Hey Udgy, been back to the pool yet? Oh my goodness, him in this pool. No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that. Probably not. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her requests. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. Something tells me this is all a bit of setup. And she's doing it to protect Emma now. What's this all about? I'd just like to make one simple request, and I'll be finished. Oh, then what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. What? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered the detective in the underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. Alright. No, what is she doing? You can't, Your Honor. The defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, I no longer require your services. Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Wow. The defendant certainly has a right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. It appears the time for this verdict has arrived. The court finds the defendants... One moment, Your Honor. What's Edgeworth doing? The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, Oh, no. I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. Uh-oh. The sudden confession from the defendant. It's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. You think? Some kind of deal? Not everyone operates as you do. Well then. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to contend. I don't care what you think. Whoa! No matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well. The court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy, you'll live to regret this. Mark my words. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Oh, poor Emma. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Skye. My occupation, I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer, Joe Dark, of the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct? Yes, I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Edgeworth, please remember, this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes. Oh, okay then. Yeah, this judge is a joke. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. Indeed. Witness testimony. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. It's a good thing you weren't harmed. I passed out. I don't remember much. That's understandable. However, please tell me, Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Alright, the defense may begin its cross-examination. Alright, cross-examination. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. Why? The defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes, she was second in command under then Deputy Chief of Police Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever. Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Skye used to be quite the pair. I believe they shared the same office. That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk. What are the odds that this dark dude ran across buildings? Or even in the same building? Seems odd, but he would have been in criminal affairs. Ran all the way over to the police department to that exact office. The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony the day. Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work. A man came running in and took me hostage. A man? Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer. Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of the ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky and Gant's office. There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened the door to have a look. That's when I saw him. Neil Marshall rescued me. I'm definitely pressing everything. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during Dark's questioning. Deputy Chief Gant and Prosecutor Marshall. Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assumed that would also be why he was the first run in after Dark. When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead, and that's when Marshall came running in. I don't clearly remember what happened then, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. Can you tell us about that? Marshall jumped on Dark. Just then, the lights went out. It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on, and lightning struck nearby. So electricity went out. Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right? Right, but just then lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind. See, I told the detective about what I saw then. The detective, yes, Goodman. He was in charge of the case. Hear more. So you spoke with Goodman about this 2 years ago. That's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Goodman about what you saw? Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. What was this picture? Well, right, have you heard enough? Yeah, so that's why the picture. This picture the witness drew, I believe, has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony? Yes. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost. You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right? Yes, I wanted to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now whenever I close my eyes. That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died, yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken? But I did draw it. I swear I'm not just imagining it. This picture that Emma drew, that reminds me. I guess I should do the evidence again. Let's continue. This scene that imprinted an image in your mind. Can you please describe it to us? The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. Okay, so we need to go back. No, I went too far. That must have been a real shock. Even now, when I close my eyes, I can see it just as clearly. Tell us, what were you doing at that moment? I believe you testified that Dark was holding you hostage. When lightning struck and the lights went out, Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. I was thrown aside and the two began wrestling each other. I'm pretty sure I was watching them. Okay, so we're going to go to the fourth. We can present. There's the evidence log. Does it have it on there? Oh, okay, I can't read it. So, present this. Mr. Edgeworth, this little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold, this is the evidence list for the incident. Yep. Please turn it over, Your Honor. Whoa. Yes, what is that? That's it. That's the picture I drew. Interesting. Indeed. Two men who appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other. So you see, Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you. He's a little surprised there. Order. But Miss Skye, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Because that's what Goodman handed me in the questioning room. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor, are you alright? Your eyes are bulging from your head. If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Edgeworth's list. What? It's possible it's... Oh, what? Something wrong? Do you even have to ask? Sorry, there is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing. What? That thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Clearly this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. Guess he was out of scrap paper. Evidence list restored and updated in the court record. Very well, witness. Would you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago? Yeah. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at that picture. Witness testimony. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. I don't know a lot to go up there. To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Dark about to murder Prosecutor Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. Keep pushing. This is a picture I drew 2 years ago. Did you draw this picture right after the incident? I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. First, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything. During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Gant and Skye. 2 or 3 days later, the memory should still have been fresh in her mind. Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black? The flash of lightning was so bright all I could see were shadows. So at the time you didn't even know it was Marshall who had come to your rescue? No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright and I was knocked to the floor. You were knocked to the floor? Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed. Poor Emma, I'm glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed? After that, I must have fainted. You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No, I'm sorry. The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. You really need to torture this girl any further? What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here. Anyway, this picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? So many questions. Okay, of course, this is exact. It wasn't influenced in any way from your talk to the detectives. Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory? No, of course not. I'd better watch out. He might find some way to cut my salary. I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detective, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me. Is there something that's bothering you about this picture? Well, that's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind, and yet there's clearly a contradiction here. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. Yeah. What's that? It says you were stabbed in the back. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. I still remember like it was yesterday. Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture? Oh, him. That's because the drawing stinks. What? The act of making an innocent girl cry should warrant the death penalty. It means I shouldn't shift the blame to others as well. So as long as the defense has learned its lesson, better taking a look at the outside. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see the tip is broken. Even I don't have to look closely to see that. But right, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too. If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body. It was a conclusive piece of evidence that proved Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple. And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. The victim was only stabbed once, and the murder weapon should not yet be broken. Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there. That's right, but what does this mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already about a little something called falsified evidence? You're treading on thin ice. All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Yep. Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Marshall questioned Dark along with Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story, there is a lie. Not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife. That's true. Then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being two broken knives? Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? I was mistaken. Broken knives don't just grow on trees. There's no way there was another one. Well, right? Your Honor, I believe the witness must be mistaken. I knew it. You really don't believe me. That flash of lightning burned an unforgettable image in her mind. One that's been torturing her ever since. There's no way Emma could be mistaken. If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error. In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume then that you have some other information about this other broken knife. If so, please feel free to enlighten us. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. If anything is broken here, it's you. Huh? I'm sure this must all be very amusing to you, right? But may I remind you that the fate of Lana Sky hangs in the balance. What? Okay. So... I can try the jar. Or the screwdriver. Okay, so not the screwdriver. We're running out of points here. This is not good. Try the unstable jar. Oh my goodness, what is it? I hate when this happens. It's like... So what else could it be? The thing is, maybe this will show it with the point. Answer lies in the past, 2 years in the past, right here inside this picture. This is a picture of the award ceremony. It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Marshall is holding. That's a broken knife. As we were earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be. No, and why not, Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Marshall. Oh. But the prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Hold it. What? Emma? I remember now. I remember everything. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please? His list? What does that do? Anything? I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it. You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. What? All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me. Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you've recalled? Yes, Your Honor. First a knife mix-up and now the blue badger. This should be interesting. I would say so. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. What? This is certainly most unusual. Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well, the defense... What? Stop, please. Don't pursue this any further. Whoa. Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. You can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. Let's see. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. So what do you mean by that? What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did is all kind of blur. Miss Skye was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. There's so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife. What you did was very brave, so then what happened next? Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. Are you sure about this? Of course, see, I even drew a picture of him here. But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous piece, and that was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. That was all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I had seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember. Oh, brother, just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion. A shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with his winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns. That thing couldn't have possibly existed. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh? Can I suppose you have an explanation? So then by all means, please tell us what the shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when that lightning flashed? Who is this blue badger really? The blue badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture, yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the blue badger, something that is now sitting in this very room. This room? Very well. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? I have no idea. Something that looks like it has horns? That. If I saw a shadow of that, would that look like? Here we go. Mysterious blue badger was in fact this, which has her blood on it. I believe some sort of jar. But right, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed, it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. This is weird. Like that. So weird. See, I think that looks the most like him. Problem is, see, that looks like the most like it. More like that, maybe? I can't get that angle right. Let's try this again. Court order. The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this. Though we all enjoyed Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar? That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Edgeworth. You see? This changes everything. Indeed. Well, very well then. Please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? The murder weapon. Let me take these. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It appeared on the other side of the room. Or it happened on the other side of the room in Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body? From Gant's office to Sky's office? Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. You know what that reason was? I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. The man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on. What would he have hit? The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Marshall, wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes, there's another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility. Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless... I don't know if I can go through with this. Right? What's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Marshall... Oh, man. Emma accidentally killed him. You mean Miss Marshall died because of me? Wow. And now we understand why. I'm assuming she fainted. I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. I don't think anybody did, dude. So it was a witness who took the victim's life. I mean, once again, let's make sure we're... And then prove so with her own testimony. I mean, we're not finding her guilty of murder. Let's not be ridiculous. Lana, what are you saying? I'm sorry, but given the circumstances... Dark murdered Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that, coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Marshall? I'm willing to bet you don't. It certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. I mean, the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Marshall did not die instantly. You may have left behind the name of the person who took his life, in one manner or another. It's impossible. Well, Miss Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist? I gotta think back to the court record. So we have that jar. Blood on it. We know that's Emma's. Dark red stains must be blood tracers from the only the fragment found in Gant's office still has lines remaining on it. It's crazy. So we look at the piece that was missing. I could definitely see an M in there. That's crazy. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind is in evidence. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken. Our purpose is not to accuse him of any crime. There's only one thing we seek, the truth, no matter how painful it may be. Now then, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased. This is a message left by the deceased. This is that blue badger from before, right? Now, is he gonna just speak the killer's name? That thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten that this is just a jar. A message was left here on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. Looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice, for some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away. Yes, there is a line here drawn in blood. So what are you saying? Is these dots were once lines? Prosecutor, Marshall did not die instantly. He used a few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away, but blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so all we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. What kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. Gotta connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written, given the circumstances. His murderer's name. Okay. It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Alana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Marshall left behind. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma's guy. See, Worthy? Can't say I didn't warn you. Gant. Do you understand the implications of what you've done? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. That's not fair. But Dark clearly was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? We aren't defenders of justice. What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. How about the fact that you are hiding evidence in your own office? Okay, everybody calm down. The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows. To be continued. I was not expecting another to be continued, but we're going to do just that, as we are definitely running long on this video. Not as long as some of our other ones, but I assumed the second half of this would be quite long. So we are going to cut it short here. Thank you guys for hanging out with us as we continue our journey through this craziness of the Joe Dark murder, the Detective Goodman murder. Obviously, Lana has been covering up because she knew what happened. Emma pushed some guy into the night. Apparently, in this crazy world that they live in, that automatically makes you a murderer, and who knows, maybe she would have gone to jail, even at the age of 14. Craziness, I know. But there's still some twists and turns I'm certain that we still need to uncover. So that being said, we're going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for hanging out with us over here on YouTube at Craig Plays Games is what you're checking out. Feel free to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video today. Feel free to hit that subscribe button if you want to become part of our family, and hit that notify bell so you're made aware when we upload a new video. On average, we go live with a new video once per day between our exclusive YouTube series and our live Twitch streams. Talking about Twitch, you can find us over there at Craig Plays Games. When you hit that follow button, you'll be made aware when we go live with a new live stream. Come on in, hang out with us, chat with us, interact with us, play the game with us basically, and we'll have a good time doing so. Finally, you can also find us on Twitter at Craig Plays Games, where I provide updates to our schedule as well as general commentary. If you follow us over there, tweet at us, we definitely will shoot you back a note. That being said, thank you so much, guys, for continuing this journey with us, our 25th video in just this series alone. We will see you here next time at Craig Plays Games, where we will continue and finish up the first game as well as this crazy episode. Anyways, we'll see you here next time at Craig Plays Games.